fake dollars created by air into the system. So that was something we could not have known about, nor could we take into account. So what did that do? Well, that postponed the collapse. The collapse should have happened in March. That's when we said it would happen. And it was unfolding in March. But again, we had no idea that the government would become so much like a fascist state. Again, according to the definition by Mussolini and others, the merger of corporate and state powers. So now what we're saying, the crash is coming, it's been postponed. The patient is dying. They have given the patient an allotropic drug that will relieve the symptoms, but it won't cure the disease.
Well, you know, the next big trend you discuss could be a domestic revolution, and you point out how the government seems to be, well, using taxpayer money to purchase up these financial institutions. We hear about a new one every day. The FDIC is now strapped and in need of a bailout itself, and they're telling basically starving and homeless Americans, why don't you just eat cake and live in a tent village? According to your work, people could soon, well, maybe unleash their own style of guillotine for the government and the elite here. What's going to happen?
Again, current events form future trends. Look what's going on in Europe. I mean, they're boss nappings of the pastimes now in France. Iceland's government was overthrown by a people's revolution. Greece is almost exploded this past fall and is ready to go again. There's going to be riots in Ireland and Spain. There's going to be riots throughout the world as the gap between the rich and the poor grows wider and wider, and as more money is being stolen from the top. I mean, we saw what happened with this Bernie Madoff scandal. You know, so we're going to see more and more of that. There's going to be revolution. We saw the first signs of it with these tax revolts. Again, something that we had predicted. And the media played it down as a right-wing Fox News conspiracy. Has nothing to do with that. When people lose everything and they have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And they're losing it now. So right now, for example, as I said, the pressure has been taken off a bit by the stimulus packages and the bailouts and the rescues. But the greatest depression is going to hit. When you look back at the last depression, most people didn't own homes. There was no such thing as a home equity loan if you had one. Matter of fact, if you had something called a second mortgage, you were a loser. Back then, people didn't have credit cards. They weren't $14 trillion in debt. We had trade surpluses. We weren't down $700 billion a year. We had surpluses in our national government, in our budget. Now what are we running behind? With a new bailout each week, we're down, almost $11.5 trillion and building. So we're going into this slowdown, into this spiral at a much greater weakened pace. And also what we have now, that we had then, that we did not have now, was a productive capacity to build us out of the depression. That's gone.
It sure is. I'd like to move on now to the real estate market. You know, we look at this Case-Shiller, one of the best indicators out there of the underlying real estate and housing market conditions. And, well, we surpassed the 30% decline from the peak in, I believe it was late 2006. But, you know, some folks are calling for a bottom here with low interest rates, you know, some of the lowest in history. However, my research indicates we may not have found the bottom. The coming higher interest rates that are now being predicted by the bond market implosion could be bad news for homeowners as increasing interest rates increases the cost associated with mortgages.
Well, sure. Home prices in the U.S. dropped the most on record in the first quarter of this year. And, you know, they're talking about little upticks here and there. Let's look where the upticks are coming from. Sure, you know, life goes on. People still buy homes, but who's buying them? First-time homeowners. They're buying at the lower end of the marketplace. Foreclosures make up another large percentage of the sales. And what else is the incentive? Oh, that $8,000 tax break that you get when you buy a new home. So those are the things that are driving the market, all temporary. And as you point out, interest rates are going to start coming up again. They're going to have to, because we're going to be facing hyperinflation. if they continue to print money the way they are, there's going to be an implication of these bailouts that we've never seen in our lifetime, and all of this infusion of money printed backed by nothing but air. So interest rates are going to have to shoot up. It looks like we're moving into a Jimmy Carter late 1970s scenario once again.
Well, you know, with all this economic trouble coming down the pike, you talk about an economic slim fast. I think this is a very apropos explanation. And most of us, this slim fast is not going to help our waistlines. But according to your work, it's going to be an economic slim fast for our home budgets. And I agree with you. You know, we've been telling folks for some time now that frugality is going to be the new cool trend. Tell folks more about how they need to be cutting back on their home budgets.
You know, this is what, as you mentioned, it's frugality. This is the basis of, Yankee frugality. Use it up, wear it out, make do without. And all of a sudden, we become a consumer society. So now people are going to be planting, you're already seeing it, again, a trend that we had predicted, people planting more of their own gardens. We've overconsumed in every way. Look what this nation looks like. We're the laughing stock of the world with our weight problem. Our cars are too big, our homes are too big. We've overconsumed in every possible way, and we're not producing. So what's going to happen with this downturn, it's going to force people back in to becoming sensible in a lot of ways. There's no need to buy a lot of stuff. Look, we're the only country in the world that has self-storage units. We have so much junk, we're storing it off-site. So this is going to be a big pullback.
I guess it'll take a sea change in the typical American's mentality to shift away from, as you rightly referred to, this consumerism trend into the more traditional American ideology, Benjamin Franklin's Poor Richard's Almanac that's, says neither a borrower nor a lender be. And there's so much wisdom in there. We've just turned our backs on it. And we're all playing, Wii video games and watching satellite